Hi, everyone. My name is Levar Martin, and I am the Executive Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer for NowCab, the National Association for Latino Community Asset Builders. Thank you so much for being here for our panel, Strategize to Win, Technical Assistance Strategies for Small Businesses. I should also say I'm a proud SBAN Advisory Board member. So again, thank you all for attending the conference. You just heard from our President and CEO, Marla Belanik at NowCab, who talked a little bit about who NowCab is and what we do. And so just to share a little bit for those who may not have seen the last plenary, NowCab is a national intermediary. We're a network of about 200 local Latino serving organizations across 46 states, DC and Puerto Rico. We provide our members with grants and loans. NowCab itself, we are a community development financial institution. We support our local members with TA and capacity building in the areas of equitable neighborhood development, small business investment, and family financial capability. So really around economic asset building. We provide training and leadership development and engage in public advocacy. One of the other things that we've done a lot of work on is research around identifying vulnerable communities through data and GIS mapping. We have a methodology for analyzing and anticipating neighborhood change with the goal of democratizing data and getting it in the hands of our local member organizations so they can get ahead of gentrification and displacement to preserve assets in their communities, of course, including housing, small businesses, and culturally driven commercial corridors. So I'm really excited to highlight, we have 3 NowCab member organizations that you're going to hear from today that are represented on today's panel. They each bring a diverse perspective and will share their experience from working with small businesses in their community. And so today you will hear from Mileyka Burgos-Flores, who is the CEO of the Allapattah Collaborative in Miami, Florida, who focuses on culturally driven commercial corridors. You'll also hear from Kersy Azocar, who's the president and CEO of Greenline Access Capital in Philadelphia, who is a lender and emerging CDFI. And then we also have our colleague, Rico, who is the Empresas Small Business Development Program Manager from Adelante, Mujeres in Forest Grove, Oregon, who also serves other rural communities who focus on retail and kitchen incubators. A little bit about the flow today. I'll ask each panelist to briefly introduce themselves, share a little bit about how they support businesses and entrepreneurs in their communities. We'll go into a panel discussion, and then after the panel discussion, each of our colleagues will share a impact story. It could be something like a success story, or it can be a lesson learned, but something that they want to highlight a specific example from the community and how they're providing TA. And then we will close with Q&A. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Mileyka. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, a little bit about the profile of the businesses you serve and your community. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation, Levar. Again, my name is Mileyka Burgos-Flores. I am the CEO of the Allapattah Collaborative CDC here in Miami. We focus on preventing displacement in our community. We came out of a community engagement effort, community-wide engagement effort, where we were focusing on how do we stop the displacement of our legacy cultural businesses. Allapattah, we are also a Main Street community. We're the only Main Street community in the city of Miami. So when the community started seeing everything that was happening, we didn't have a name for it yet. Today we call it gentrification, but at that time we didn't have a name for it. We just saw that rent was going up, buildings were being demolished, and things were changing, and we really didn't understand what was going on. So through the Equitable Development Action Plan that we put together with the support of NowCab, we were able to really create a pathway forward for the community, and that's how we came around and we started helping these businesses. Unfortunately, the pandemic became an impediment to the plans that we had initially, but it really gave us the opportunity to truly help those immigrant historic small businesses really open up to the support and the help that we were able to offer. We went from businesses that were not digitally included, businesses that were not using standard accounting practices, to businesses that are now online doing e-commerce. That we've been able to secure over $3.2 million in capital for these businesses and help them grow, but also fine-tune their goals as what is it that they want to do and where they're going. Because many times we believe that businesses want to grow and that's all they want to do, and many times they don't necessarily want to expand. They just want to make sure that they have a secure future for their families. So really working on their goals, not the goals that others want to put in front of them. It's something that we always focus on, but really helping them knock down those barriers to capital and those barriers to accessing the dream that they came for. Thank you, Levar.
Thank you so much, Mileyka. Mara, it'd be great if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and a little bit about the work you do in the community you serve.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Levar, for the introductions and for the invitations. Basically, well, the position that I have is Empresas Program Manager in Adelante Mujeres. Our program target the Latin low-income women here in the Washington County in Oregon. We have different services, but through all of them through education. We have courses, workshops, and also coaching one-on-one and technical assistance for those who wants to create or grow their business. We mainly serve women, but this is one of the programs, one of the 11 programs in the organization that also give services to men. What else? The community, even when we focus in Washington County, we also receive participants from all around Oregon. So we just refer this community. Also, we have 2 incubators. We have a commercial kitchen where participants can assist and prepare their food for their business. For business, it could be catering, it could be a food truck, or even people just starting their restaurants, but they can make their tasting here. And it's very symbolic price. We have also, because the county is really big, and we have a partnership with 3 other kitchens around the county, so they can participants can assist to those kitchens with the same rules that they have with us. The other incubator is front store for retail people, people that wants to start business in retail. And we just started the 2nd generation because the last year was pilot program and it went really good. So now we're basically starting the 2nd generation, which means from 3 to 5 person starting their own business has access to being in the places and learning how to use the system, learning how to be in contact with clients and making their own marketing strategies and their own business plan, etc. It's a 18 months program, and we starting this October. All our services, even when the coaches are bilingual, all our services are in Spanish because it's where we see the need. Right, like we try to just target this community because I think we are is a priority in Adelante Mujeres. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mara. And next, Kersy.
Thank you for the invitation. Very excited to be here. My name is Kersy Azocar from Greenline Access Capital. We are a mission-driven financial institution, and we have 4 core pillars in our mission. We want to make sure that our clients and disadvantaged individuals are connected with the capital, capacity, connections, and the conviction so that they can leverage entrepreneurship for economic and social advancement. All our services are bilingual. We feel a niche, a much needed need in the market. Philadelphia is one of the 10 poorest metropolitan cities in the nation, and we work with mainly Latino entrepreneurs, first-time borrowers that are debt adverse, they've never borrowed before. And we want to make sure, we always make sure that we can connect them with the capital they need to grow and expand their businesses. And in addition to the capital, we also connect them with resources. The city of Philadelphia has a lot of resources, grants, and different programs. So our services are, we provide three main services: access to capital with our own funds up to $25,000, or we can connect clients with additional loan funds from other CDFI partners. We also provide business consulting or technical assistance and business training. And our business consulting also has a credit action plan. So we always want to make sure that our clients have a healthy credit when we work with them. And very interesting what we've done in our in this past year. We have connected over 30 small businesses with $3 million in grants and loans. And out of those 3,062,000 have been from Greenline Access Capital. So very excited to be here to share information, resources, and give you a little bit of a snapshot of what we're working with here in Philadelphia.
Thank you so much, Kersy, and my other colleagues and panelists. Just to kind of jump into the questions, thank you all for the introduction. It seems like there's this, and some of y'all mentioned this, we heard a little bit about this in the last plenary, but it seems like there's a public narrative that in some parts of the country or some demographics have recovered or in the process of recovering from the economic crisis, the COVID pandemic. We know that a lot of moderate income communities, economic recovery historically slower than higher income communities after a crisis. What are you seeing with the businesses you serve? How would you define kind of their stage of economic recovery related to the COVID pandemic?
I can tell you that what people need to understand is that we were on a pandemic before the pandemic. We were struggling with access to capital. We were struggling with lack of technical assistance, with lack of financial products, specifically for our community. So we walk into the pandemic already in a deficit. In order to walk out of the pandemic on a positive, it takes a great deal of resources and intention. And I think that a lot of the social justice claims that have been made by funding sources are coming through and are helping a lot. But I think that we need to be very clear that we started in the negative because our community was already lagging. And walking into the pandemic, many of them lost their business. I mean, and that's the truth, the reality. In Allapattah, for example, if it wasn't because we started to do forgivable loans and really getting into the small business resiliency cohort, where we were able to get into the finances and understand the debt that was already existing and try to lift up these businesses and say, okay, let's start with a clean slate. Many of those businesses would have lost their place of operation. And that's that was basically the benefit of working not only with the Allapattah Collaborative, but with the network of NALCAP and Hispanics in Philanthropy and a number of other funding sources that really came through for our community. So at this point, I feel that at least our community is a little bit more knowledgeable. And since we have also an impending crisis on displacement, it's been very understanding. And, we've made the very strong point of you need to own your storefront. The only way you're going to prevent you being kicked out of your storefront is by owning it. So let's work on your books so we can make sure that you own that storefront and you can have a secure future for your family. It depends. I think that, we still have a lagging in the community as a whole, but I think that there's some rays of lights that are coming through in programs like, for example, in Miami, we have the Open for Business program with Wells Fargo and the Miami Foundation, and that is helping us and helping them secure their means of operation through equipment purchases, and also by them having down payment assistance for commercial buildings. So the good thing that has come after the pandemic is all these programs that are more focused to our community in really being intentional in keeping bringing us out of the shadows in a way.
Thank you, Mileyka. Mara or Kersy?
I can go. Well, I will say it depends. It depends the industry. We serve different types of industry. The main ones are food-based business, and they were really affected, right? Like, but at the end of the day, when it's a lack of resources, always the creativity comes around. So everybody just start to just looking for another ways to sell the food when they doesn't have the space to do it, when everything was closed or shut down. And now the stage for food business, food-based business, I will say the stage is just recovering. Like it's a struggle to hiring people, because a phenomenon that we saw is that people move around cities or around areas, like trying to look something else. So now it's like where is the people? Even when these industries always kind of is one of the struggles, like is they struggle with this all around, with or without pandemic. Now it's like a huge thing, like finding people that they stay, because it's where the people, they just look around other kind of jobs to stay alive. And another industry that I can mention, for example, another very that covers a majority of the of participants is people cleaning houses. So for them, for example, I think that everything is open now. They doing good, like a really good. Maybe it's like just the counterpart of they having no job at all when everybody was closing doors, but now they are really good. In a general terms, I will say that people that wants for retail industry or that kind of business that they need a place to be seen, I think they're struggling with the rents, because landlords also lose money, right? A lot of people just start to just close business, and because of that, they didn't receiving any rent. So now, like, they try to just recover that, so they increases the rent in a way that it's not sustainable for our population, right? So we're trying to focus on how to find ways, like basically it's money, but another way is like making a kind of different deals. Another industry that I can mention is, for example, construction. I think they were the most of stable, at least in our experience, right? Like, of course, everybody was affected by pandemic, but from the industry that I mentioned, I will say that the construction, it was kind of the average, like they don't struggle as cleaners or something. So I have those examples, and I think it depends of industry they are in different stages. But at the end, everybody is feeling like they recovering. Like we are in the other side, we survive. And for those, not talking about the industry, but like the generalization that they close, they're trying to come with another ideas, or they just go back to the labor force like a regular job. And they, from what I'm hearing, is like, okay, I need to save money again to start again. So they just come back to the labor force, and that's what they're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to piggyback on what Mileyka said. I think our small businesses were in a negative before, and the pandemic has definitely impacted everyone tremendously. And I think the stage they're in is survival. And I go back to when PPP came in, that nobody was ready. I remember calling one of our clients, and I'm like, oh, can you send me your documents? We need your taxes in a PDF. And then he's like, what is a PDF? So
Yeah.
we still see that our small businesses are struggling with technology, they're struggling with language barriers. And in addition to that, it's like, okay, there's money coming in, there's all these grants, but that's a scam. That doesn't apply to me. I'm not going to qualify. So they don't even apply. So it really takes organizations like ours to walk with the small business and take them by the hand and say, look, these grant or these resource is good for you, and we're going to help you with the process. Another thing is that we continue to see that small businesses are debt adverse. So it really takes us time to have that educational component. Like, these are the benefits of having a small business loan. This is the benefit of having an organization vouching for you and sharing resources that you may never find out they exist unless we tell you that they are available. And also, going back to what both Mara and Mileyka say, it is a struggle to help small businesses become owners of their commercial properties because the taxes they're filing are still
Inadequate.
they're not correct. They're misfiled, and we have a lot of tax preparers in our communities that are misinforming our small businesses. So they don't even have the chance to apply for these opportunities and get approved for when the opportunity presents. So we're working very diligently, making sure that we are providing that opportunity to our small businesses. And regardless of the amount they report, now they can make an informed decision. If I report X amount that is more or less of whatever I'm making, then that may prevent me from accessing a larger loan or buying my building. And something else that I wanted to mention is that we hear all these praises to small businesses. They're the backbone of the economy, but what are we doing to empower them? What are we doing to help them and to meet them where they are? And when we think about small businesses, we may think, oh, an architect, an engineer, that's very sexy. But what about the beauty salon, the taxi driver, the grocery store, the electrician? And it's very palpable to see the distinction between somebody being an architect and making, I don't know, $200,000, or a beauty salon making $15,000, $20,000, or $50,000. So we are very conscious of that and making sure that we're giving this opportunity to small businesses and micro businesses to make them grow and be successful.
Thank you all. Yeah, go ahead.
One more thing on what Kersy said that makes it. Thank you so much for mentioning that. And it's the lack of capacity sometimes in our communities. And the number of people that want to do great things and want to help, but sometimes don't have the information. There's so many tax preparers that misinform our community. We've had so many challenges with that. And at the end of the day, what we as an organization end up doing is working on building the trust. Because if you didn't have that trust built in from the beginning, they're not going to work with you. And it's the trust, so we can work slowly or surely in the mind shifting. In the mind shifting of what can really work for you and what can really help you get to the goals that you have for you and your family. And Latino business owners are not about just them. It's about them and their families. That's when they move, when they understand that their decisions are going to affect everyone who is here and even people that are not here, people that they support in their home countries. So I think that building that trust, building that capacity in our community and shifting those minds are, really important, and something that became very evident during the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you all for those examples. And, I think it speaks to the importance of each of your organizations for being those conduits that can provide those resources, that clear information, at times capital. So thank you all very much. You all kind of touched on this during your last answer, but you all serve diverse communities. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of cultural competency and cultural relevancy in the TA services you provide businesses? Beyond language, which is of course is important, but I think you've all actually we were having a discussion before talking about the importance of this kind of beyond language when we were in the waiting room. This could be related to geography, whether it's urban or rural. It could be race or ethnicity. It could be cultural, economic preferences, which some of you have mentioned so far. It could be based on generations, right? And so let's start with Mara this time. Mara, do you any thoughts on the importance of cultural relevancy and competency for providing technical assistance?
I was going to start with the language, and you just banned it. So.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, you can please.
It's a joke. Well, as Mileyka was saying, our culture is really around family, right? So, for example, things that we have done about this is our courses. We now, for pandemic, we have everything virtual, but now that we're coming back to face-to-face conference and workshops and everything, we're bringing the same model that we had. That is, we take care. I'm so sorry for that. We take care in. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute and I just to put that. I'm sorry for that. Basically, we take care of the children. We have daily daycare when we have the courses, right? Because I think it's very important for moms because it's Adelante Mujeres. It's an organization that is very, very worried about empowering women. So it's a very big need. So we do that in every course or taking classes. About geography, I will say that, I want to touch generation. We have people from 30s to 60s, so all around that category. So the technology barrier is a huge one, right? And within organization, our staff is we have people working 25 years, so they born with this technology, and for them it's just so practical to use an email or something, and our population is different, so that the cultural adaptation is okay, I'm going to reach you through text message, to phone call. Even myself, for me, I feel very happy when I receive a phone call because hey, I'm hearing your voice, right? So we try to match those needs, and we try to find the specific way to contact with them. As I say, it's everything building in trust, right? So if you hear a voice, if you see a face, it's going to be different. Now that we're coming back, we try to meet them because the organization I'm going to touch now geographics. It's far away from the rest of the county. So sometimes we go to them in some cases, and that's a need. That's a really need because the public transportation in here is not that good. Just being around cities, or just it costs to parking somewhere, right? It costs you just to get out of your house because you have to pay parking lot, and people think on that because it's really there's those things are in their heads. So okay, I'm coming to you. So we met them in libraries, we met them in their houses. So that kind of things that we adapt to them, and it's really success. I mean, we got success because they oh, you're coming to my house, really you're taking the time to doing this. Yes. And when we see, and we try to do that also as a team, because sometimes why just one person or something, everybody basic rules, everybody is identified. We just bring the labels or cards and things like that. Yes, that's the things that we use just for the cultural thing, just approaching our community.
Thank you, Mara.
Sure.
Kersy or Mileyka?
Yeah, I can go next. I can break it into different categories because here in the United States, we're all Latinos. And yeah, we were talking about that earlier, that yes, we have clients from Mexico, from Venezuela, Colombia, and from the Dominican Republic. And I think it's easier said than done to when we when we say that statement, when we say culturally relevant, culturally sensitive, because it's even beyond where we are from, is also what's your level of education, what's your industry, are you a man, are you a woman? We know that women have different challenges than men, so we want to make sure that we are catering to the women in a way that they feel empowered, that they feel safe. And we are actually part of a leadership training for women because we believe that technical assistance for women it should be integrated into all technical assistance. And this is specifically to women. The language that we use, I don't know, parcha, chinola, right? We have different ways of saying fruits and veggies. And every day, I can also say that you never stop. Like I cannot say, well, I've been in this industry for 15 years and I already know how to work with everyone. No, it's a constant learning, changing, evolving. And it's very important that the staff that we have represents that message all the way, like from top to bottom. Yes. And the new person that we hire has to have the same standards to work with our clients. And this is a big challenge for organizations because when we don't know how to earn that trust, and I can also add respect, I think that we lose that connection with the community, and then that's when our loans are defaulting. That's when we cannot find people to come to our workshops because then that is broken. And another comment with regards to communication, because a lot of our immigrants are using WhatsApp or text messages, and you get to see that it's just an instant response. So if we know that a lot of them don't have an email address or they may not answer their phone calls, how can we find a way to better communicate with them? So that's why, I mean, it's always evolving, always changing. We need to stay up to date and make sure that we accommodate the communities that we serve.
Yeah. And I totally agree with what Kersy and Mara said, but I'm going to go in a different directions when it comes to cultural competency. I'm really going to talk about technology and in the acculturation and bringing our community into the mainstream. Many times it's really difficult, but I think that it's really speaking their language in a different, and not just it being Spanish, for example, but really what will make this person, and it comes with trust. It comes with sitting down in their shop and really understanding what matters to them and really understanding how they operate personally to really say, hey, maybe you want to be in this WhatsApp chat. And then now we're communicating and it's so much easier. I mean, they take on Facebook and WhatsApp like nothing else, right? But God forbid they actually have an Instagram account or anything else, or even an email that is even more productive, right? But it's those little things that happen. And I'll give you an example. We have a 70-year-old business owner, and we were able to teach this business owner how to use his cell phone more productively, meaning beyond just taking a call, right? And now he's able to do Zoom calls. Now he's able to check his bank account. Now he's able to truly, use his phone as a productivity tool. 2 days later, he goes off and he buys like the latest iPhone. And it was really funny, but it was also a testament to the fact that if you can get a 70-year-old Latino man to understand technology and to embrace technology in a way that is going to make him money, or it's going to make life easier for him, and it's going to avoid that 1-hour trip to the bank, or avoid that, back and forth. And instead of me going to your office, now we can do this Zoom call. We can really make it happen. We can really integrate our community and make that mind shift that needs to happen. But it really takes intention, and it really takes people that understand our culture and the intergenerational nuances of it. For example, if you are over a certain age, you are el don or la doña, because That's how we show respect to our elders. Most people don't understand that, right? So sometimes they say, oh, don't call me don or doña because I'm not that old. But they already understand that there's a sign of respect there, that that we are treating them with that, right? And it's that culture that kind of strings us along and builds and opens that little door that we can like continue to help them to integrate and do new things. So I think that cultural competency is very important, because if we really want them to shift specific behaviors, they first need to trust us, and that's not going to happen if we don't have that level of cultural competency.
It takes, as you all were saying, it takes time.
Yes.
It takes intentionality.
Yes.
And for, staff that are often already kind of overburdened, for it to be successful, really continuing to push to our funders to make sure we're paying for that capacity for our groups to provide these services. And so
Yes.
I couldn't agree more. That's just
yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned funders, because sometimes when we're putting together grants and we say this is going to take 10 hours, and they're like, how can that take 10 hours? You're just going to do it. And I'm like, you don't understand that it's not one visit. It takes not only the visit, but sometimes you need to visit the owner and sit and wait for them to be done with whichever client or whatever they're doing. So a 15-minute process can take you 2 hours. So many times that's something that that's also goes into cultural competency, and explaining that the funding sources sometimes becomes challenging.
Thank you for that, Mileyka.
Yeah, and if I can add to that,
Sure.
also when we are addressing and I love that example, Mileyka, because we become part of their families. It's like, oh, how's your wife? How are your kids? So even if you call for, I need to know how many employees you have today, it really turns into a 30-minute conversation, because and then that's when you discover, oh my goodness, your pipe broke. Let me help you. Oh, you have your son wants to go to college. Let me connect you. You want to buy home. So every conversation turns into a technical assistance opportunity. This is not this is not like a cold conversation. Just tell me the information and that's it. I'm busy. You really need to take the time, like Mileyka and Mara said, to nurture that relationship, and it continues throughout the time. So maybe in another culture, that same activity is going to take 5 minutes, and then for us, it's going to be definitely 30 minutes or more.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for those examples. And I just want to be sure to give you all time to share an impact story. We had talked about maybe it could be a success story, it could be a lesson learned. And so maybe we'll start with Mileyka. If you share an impact story from a business that you helped.
Yes, actually, we have a lot of positive stories, and I think I gave you the one of the gentleman that learned to use a cell phone more productively. But I think I'm going to give you more of a lessons learned, and I think that because we also need to understand how those things are happening, right? So we have a mechanic shop, a mechanic that he used to work in this mechanic shop. He was able to buy the business from the previous owner and continue to be in our commercial corridor. At some point, the owner of the location was selling it for, I think it was $300,000, and he already had $80,000. He only needed $20,000 loan to give him a third, which is what he was asking for, so he can then finance the other portion. This person went to so many banks and he wasn't able to get banked for $20,000 because he didn't have credit, because he didn't have an established relationship with a bank, because he didn't have all those barriers to capital that we always talk about. But it was $20,000 and he already had 80. So he spoke to an investor to help him. That investor ended up buying the place from under him for over the price that the landlord was asking, and then raised his rent, sold the place 2 years later for almost $1 million, which is, almost than double than what he originally paid, raised his rent again. And he went from paying less than $1,000 to paying over $3,000 rent in a span of 10 years. I know that 10 years seem like a lot of time, but even when you do the math, it just doesn't add up. This person at the end was asked to leave. The owner asked for the site back, and he lost the business. All the money that we as an organization put into this business owner, all the training, everything that we've been able to do for him, really was lost because the moment that the landlord asked for the location, he lost his business, he lost everything. And to us, it was like a testament of like, we need to ensure that, number one, these businesses are bankable and that these businesses have access to capital, because they know how to save. They are very prudent and very conservative with their finances. But we also need to make sure that they are able to play and take advantage of all the resources that are here. And secondly, we need to make sure that we can root them in place. If he was the owner of the storefront, he could have been in his place and continue to operate. So just a glimpse of the things that we still need to get done to make sure that our small businesses are really taken care of.
Thank you very much, Mileyka. Let's go to Kersy.
Yeah, sure. Happy to share. I would like to share two brief success stories. One is that we provided a small loan to a first-time borrower, and it was a $3,000 loan. And even though his business could afford more, he just like I'm okay with a small loan. I just want to start creating that relationship. So the city of Philadelphia opened a $50,000 grant for small businesses, and he fit that criteria. So because we already had all his information, and one of our assessments during the application is like, tell us about your dreams, tell us about your goals. So we were literally able to put together a growth plan very quickly. So we submitted his application, and these $3,000 turned into 53 because the city approved him, and all the applicants that were submitted for the 2 rounds were approved. And again, how can the small business owner could have had access to the grant, putting together all the application, all the information, the growth plan, and again, that's why our role is so important in helping small businesses connect to resources and making sure that they are growing. And the other example I would like to share is, again, another small loan that we gave a food truck owner, and then we helped her obtain a $10,000 grant, and her car was totaled, and she needed more money to replace her car to tow the truck, and also for inventory. And then we connected her with a larger CDFI to obtain a $30,000 grant loan. And again, that's how we see the small businesses making sure that they are accessing available funds, that they are getting ready to borrow and graduate. So these 3,000 turn into 10 and then 30 more. And it's not easy. It is a lot of work. But that's the only way that we make sure that the funds and the resources are reaching the businesses that need it the most, or the businesses that can highly benefit. And yeah, so we're very excited about their growth and the help we have provided them.
Thank you very much for that, Kersy. And Mara?
Yes. Well, I would love to tell you a lot of examples, but I want to show you a video because our department that make these videos are amazing, and we love to say stories. So this is the story of La Panadera. You're gonna see it's no more than 2 minutes video, so please just check it out. And this is one of our successful stories. She's here in Forest Grove with her business, and she did just an amazing pan de muerto for this Dia de Muertos. So check it out.
México, del estado de Quintana Roo. El motivo de venir de México para acá, soñaba con una casa, con lograr construir una casa para mí y para mi familia. Una persona, un panadero, cruzó en mi camino y gracias a él estoy hago pan y por eso que decidí que sea panadería. Yo quisiera que la panadera crezca y poder emplear a mujeres, a muchas mujeres, pero no tenía yo la experiencia en el tipo de trabajo. Pues abrí el negocio el 16 de noviembre. Pues estoy muy contenta, estoy feliz. Empezamos con 3 empleados, ahora tenemos 5 empleados. Es un poco difícil, pero no es imposible. Para mí pasaron muchos años para poder abrir aquí, a pesar de que es algo pequeño, pero nunca le hay que quitarle la esperanza a nadie, porque todos tenemos derecho a luchar y a tener un sueño. Y sea de Guatemala, sea de quien sea, yo les diría que lo intenten, que sigan adelante con sus sueños. Nunca es tarde.
Wow.
Wow, thank you, Mara.
Yes.
Do you want to add anything to not kind of speak?
Well, yes, as Mileyka and Kersy said, like, it's not easy. This is the result of, I mean, in the video it says 1 month later, but it's like, okay, we did a lot of job before that. So it's not that easy. It's not that fast. It's not, and it's very important about the cultural competency, because there's a lot of years involved. There's like any women we have, it doesn't matter the culture, but yes, it's a lot of effort and teamwork. But as the panadera says, the dream can come true.
That's great. Thank you very much. I definitely want to make sure we have time for Q&A. And so I just want to jump right into the questions, if that's okay. And let me make sure I can see them. The first question is, how do you typically keep a client when you are providing TA? Do you find that most small business owners have a variety of needs and the services can extend for months at a time? What is your experience with this when working with a large number of clients?
We keep them forever.
Yeah.
They are our clients for as long as they are in business, because, it's really the more you do, the more difficult it becomes. The higher your income, or the more employees you have, so they just confront different types of challenges, right? So we, at this point, we have worked with the same businesses, and we include more, and businesses continue to come back to us, because this is a long life journey, and like Mara said earlier, you become like family to them. So you are an extension, in a way, of their business, because we are helping them, we are advising them every single time there's a grant or there's an opportunity for funding. We are keeping them in that loop. We are educating them. So it's a constant education process and coaching process that we are totally engaged about with them.
Thank you, Mileyka. Kersy or Mara?
I don't know if the person is working in an organization at us, because I can see a little bit of the technical part within the organization. For example, we have been situations where instead of 3 coaches are 1 or 2, like less capacity within the organization, in the same amount of people. It actually is not the same, it's increasing, right? So one of the engagement strategies that we do is always like give them homework, right? Because they need to come back with us. But when we have that kind of struggle, like there's more work or capacity, basically we come back until they come back to us. Sometimes when we have the bandwidth, it was just like did you do the homework, right? But when we don't, we just wait until they come back to us, and just like the to-do list, like a check, I come back with this. And depends the priorities, of course, of every situation. For example, IDA that we help with to make applications, so the Kivasi, these resources for money, it has a deadline, so it depends. Like it could be just because the need and specific for the specific need of the business, or the time of the process they are applying. So we can play around those to just keep the engagement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for us the same. I'm gonna go with the SBA definition. Once you're a client, you're always a client,
Mm-hmm.
and it never ends. I think they have different needs based on their stages, and we also learned the hard way that you cannot do it all. You cannot be everything and anything. That's why you need to rely on good partners, good professionals, subject matter experts, in order to be your allies, in order to make that referral, because I'm not a marketing expert, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant. So how can I connect you with the resources, with the right person that's going to help you? And also, I'm going to make a parenthesis, because we make that mistake putting the burden in our staff, and we spend a lot of hours doing things or doing research for something, thinking that, oh yes, we can do it, we're going to do it better. But at the end, it's better to know what your capabilities are, in your capacity, and also what you can refer to another professional.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all very much. I'm sorry, reading the questions here. Can you speak a little bit to what do you wish city governments could be doing better to partner with your organizations?
Great question. I think Kersy mentioned earlier that everybody loves small businesses because they're the backbone of the community and they're backbone of our economy and so on. However, a lot of the policies that we have out there are not protecting small businesses. They're not protecting legacy businesses. They're not funding and helping the technical assistance that they need to access capital, to improve their internal controls, to really optimize these businesses that can honestly, with that support, be able to create more jobs and have a better future for not only the family of the owner, but the families of that within that community and the employees that work there. So I think that we need to walk the talk. There's a lot of talk about small businesses are so great, they're all of this, but when you come back to the city budget, the county budget, the state budget, small businesses. And when I'm talking about small businesses, I'm not talking about the SB definition. I'm really talking about the micro businesses that in Miami, they make 79% of our economy. So when you talk about micro businesses under $1 million, that's what I'm talking about. Those are the ones that need the help. Those are the ones that need the technical assistance. And those are the ones that are able to exponentially grow and keep our economy strong.
I love numbers, and it's very impressive, that percentage, Mileyka. Before 2060, we Latin women, we are going to be one of every 3 women in the States. So that's huge. We are going to be a third of the population in here. So I will say, put attention on us, because we're rocking it and we're going to succeed. So your government can give us a really good and smooth path, or how is that going to work, right? Because we're making business. So I will say things as simple as translate your pages, like just make accessible the all the compliance tramit documents, and all of this, just make it available in Spanish. Also have people in your staff in the Spanish, like it's about trust. If we literally have another person behind the phone and saying like, hola, yo te puedo ayudar, I can help you, it's like it makes the difference for a journey to start a business. So embrace people in your staff in all levels, not just answering the phone, like taking decision, lapting people, like all of this is like because we're here. So I will say, yeah, just put attention of the numbers there, because we're growing fast.
Yeah, I agree. And also wanted to mention that when the pandemic hit, the Pennsylvania governor, and I don't mean this in any bad way, but we were trying to get funds to do grants, and then he literally didn't know what CDFIs were. So I think creating that, how do I wish that city governments could partner better with us, is understanding what are our services. We're not banks. We're we're not competing with banks. Like, we feel a specific need, and if our small businesses are healthy, then the community is healthy, the staff is healthy, right? It has a domino effect. And also making sure that we are connected with the right resources. It's not a secret that, sometimes funding goes to larger organizations because they are big, not because they're doing the work. And if I can get the exact amount of money or half of some of what big organizations are getting, we could be doing so much more. So in my case, I would say just making sure that there's that awareness of the work we're doing, the impact we're doing, and how can we be connected with the right resources, with the right connections. And also, if there's any, any assistance or anything, how can we be connected to that? And I will also add that we do have a contract with the city. We're very happy that they do know about our work and what we're doing. And yes, they believe in the work we're doing, and we were selected out of 12 organizations that applied for this contract, and we were 2 of the organizations awarded. So we're very excited about that.
Congratulations. So we're about at time, but just want to give you all an opportunity. Any closing thoughts? Anything you'd like to leave the audience with?
I want to thank you, Levar, for the opportunity.
I can start.
No, go ahead, Kersy.
No, go ahead. It's just that there was a delay.
There is a delay, yeah. So I want to thank you, Levar, and the SBAN team for inviting us to speak and to share the nuances in our communities. I think that although we are all Latinos, or we are in minority communities of color, and we're all feeling the displacement pressures, there are some nuances that we've been able to navigate, and we have the opportunity to learn from each other. And that's the value of gatherings like this, that we can learn from what other people are doing and how can we do it better in our community. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mileyka. Mara, Kersy?
I can go. Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to the SBAN team for giving us this opportunity to share these resources. I would like to say that change is not easy, but we need to welcome change. We cannot keep talking about these, the same challenges, the same issues, or what works for the next 10, 15, 20 years, when we are already talking about that. We were talking about that for the past 15, 20 years. So today, I would like to challenge ourselves, all of us. We need to look at the work we're doing. How can we have a better impact, and not just be happy with the bare minimum, not just be happy with one success story when we can have 10. And I don't mean to diminish when we have good success stories, but I mean, how can we be more effective in the work that we are doing? And another comment that I wanted to make, I think we barely touch on undocumented small business owners. When we think about challenges, imagine, these totally excluded community is severely impacted when we don't cater services that allows them to buy their homes, to open a bank account. And we've been very proud since the beginning to that we do provide loans to businesses that have a tax ID. And we just want to mention that it's important that we have that opportunity for small businesses. And yes, it's just very excited to be here, and looking forward to connecting with some of you and expanding the work we do.
And last but not least, Mara, any final thoughts?
Thanks. Thank you, everybody, for being here to share with very empowered women and with you, Levar. Like it's motivating and inspiring. In general, I want to say that the organization that I'm working with has 20 years and has been doing a really, really, really nice job. The community just say it, not me. And we are working in how to reproduce our model, right? Because we are the only organization in Oregon targeting Latin women. So we working on those models, how to reproduce them, because when there's lack of resources, the creativity comes just huge, right? So with this creativity, we're trying to reproduce our model in different parts. So if in the audience are somebody that wants just to join the force, the lucha, and spread the word and just empower more Latin women or more any community with our model, just I will invite everybody, just touch base. We're here. We want to spread the word and make this work bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. So thank you for the space. Thank you for the awareness, because I think this is what we needs to be done, right? Like just talk, bring the conversation, and see how that any spark just start something huge. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Always a big fan of all the work you do, your organizations. For the audience, if there's any questions you have about any of the programs you heard, or how to, maybe serve or better engage with undocumented folks in your community, feel free to reach out to any of the panelists, myself. We can connect you with an organization that's close to you. So with that, we are at time. Let's see, few housekeeping. Please enjoy the sound bath meditation break before the next session, which will be lunch and talk with Andrew Perry, which starts at 1:30 Eastern time. So thank you all very much, and take care.